Hello, my name is Kung Chang Tzu, a 75th generation descendant of the great sage Confucius. Allow me to comment on some of the principles presented in Stephen Covey's popular book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. We owe a lot to our predecessors for their contribution to our wealth of knowledge in various fields of study, in this case, personal character development. Since I am studying and learning what Mr. Covey promotes in his book, I may be called his student. From studying his book and related topics, such as paradigm change and 90-10 principle, I have come to see strengths and limitations. Thus, I would like to offer a critique and a refinement or improvement on Mr. Covey's discoveries. As Confucius said, if students do not excel beyond the teacher, where will progress take place? Just as Isaac Newton did not invent or create gravity, Mr. Covey did not create the 7 habits, but merely discover them. In this sense, anyone is free to augment, correct, or otherwise add and refine his discoveries, much like Einstein's theory of relativity refined Newton's theory of gravity. Though I agree and give Mr. Covey credit for introducing some very insightful characteristics of human nature and how to harness those innate qualities of man so as to be more effective as a person and a team player, whether in a family or any other social environment. I dare to offer a few suggestions that may enhance the assessment of the human condition that Mr. Covey has hitherto so concisely expounded on. The 90-10 principle. Mr. Covey explains that 10% of all things that happens in one's life is beyond one's control and gave a number of examples to illustrate that fact, such as the car breaking down, the train running late, and the driver cutting us off in traffic. These incidents show much is beyond our control. Realizing that 10% is beyond our control may help us not to be so stressed and not to take those things that are out of our control too seriously. I believe this is Mr. Covey's objective. Excessive stress to the mind, like inflammation to the body, is not healthy. If recognizing that 10% of what happens is beyond your control may help reduce stress, imagine what you can achieve by realizing that actually 90% is not in our control. This is my discovery, my contribution, if you will, to the discussion of character development. Compared to what happens to us, I suggest we actually control only 10%. Yes, I am claiming that 90% of what happens to us in our lives are beyond our control. Look at our physical body. Did I have anything to say about how I look, about who my parents are, where I was born, what color of skin I will have, who my siblings are? How about being born in this age and not another? How much of a difference will that make in my life? Now look at what does. How often do even successful people tell you that it took them multiple tries before they hit their first success? This means their previously tries were treated with failure. That is, reactions and responses from others that are completely not within their sphere of influence or control. Now consider the majority of people who are not highly successful in all the fields they try to be successful in. What happened there is that people and circumstances around them did not come under their influence or control. Realizing most things are not within our control may relieve us the stress of trying to control everything. Even if 90% of what happens is out of our control, we are still in control of the other 10%. However, saying that 10% of the time we can control our circumstances or what happens to us does not mean we are responsible for only 10% of what we do. In other words, we need to take 100% responsibility for our actions and behavior. This desire for 100% completeness or perfection comes from God. Thus, Jesus said in Matthew 5:48, "Therefore you must be perfect, even as your heavenly Father is perfect." Don't think 100% is not achievable. Think of how we expect our spouse to be 100% faithful. Would we tolerate our spouse going off just once a year, or even in 20 years, to get drunk and sleep with another? Aren't you holding your spouse to 100% fidelity? Many people do and succeed. Mr. Covey's 90-10% principle is valid. Only the 90 and the 10 in my scheme is reversed, turned upside down. But we nevertheless must be 100% responsible for what we do. Not only is 90% of what happens is beyond our control, our effort to change any of the 90% that happened will be met with resistance and futility. There may be no way to even the score, a retribution to a wrong done to us. To try to exact revenge on someone who wronged you may take too much time and investment, more than what it is worth. People have wasted their lives living for to seek revenge. We need not right every wrong. To some, it will demand a paradigm shift in their thinking. Justice implies getting even. This approach will never herald in peace. Thank you for listening.